Marcus reached slowly into his wallet, extracting a worn business card from behind his driver's license. The edges were frayed from years of carrying it, a reminder of the life he had walked away from. He handed it to Officer Thompson, whose expression changed as he read the faded text. Dr. Marcus Williams, licensed clinical social worker, crisis intervention specialist, emergency psychiatric services. The officer's skepticism wavered as he examined the card, noting the hospital seal and professional credentials. But then, Marcus continued quietly, "I lost my wife to cancer 3 years ago. Couldn't handle helping other families through trauma when I couldn't save my own. So I walked away, took night jobs where I wouldn't have to feel responsible for anyone's pain except my own." Elena had been listening to every word, her grip on the railing loosening slightly as understanding dawned in her eyes. "You really are a doctor," she whispered. "I was," Marcus replied, turning back to face her fully. "I specialized in helping people who felt exactly like you do right now. People who had lost everything that mattered, who couldn't see a way forward through the darkness." Officer Thompson cleared his throat, his earlier aggression replaced by uncertainty. "Dr. Williams, if that's really who you are, then maybe you should handle the situation. I'll call off the mental health unit for now." Marcus nodded gratefully, then focused entirely on Elena. Her face showed the first glimmer of something that might have been hope, mixed with desperate skepticism that anyone could truly understand her pain. "You said your daughter died of leukemia," Marcus said gently. "My wife Sarah had the same disease. I know what it feels like to watch someone you love disappear piece by piece, fighting battles that medicine can't always win." Elena slowly stepped back from the railing, her legs trembling as the adrenaline of the moment began to fade. Marcus extended his hand, palm up, an invitation rather than a demand. She stared at it for a long moment before placing her cold fingers in his warm grasp. "I don't know how to start over," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the wind. "I don't even know where I would begin." Dr. Chun chose that moment to approach, her footsteps careful and measured. She had witnessed something extraordinary, a masterclass in crisis intervention that surpassed anything she had seen in her 20 years of practice. The man in the security uniform had just saved a life using skills that took years to develop and a lifetime to master. "Excuse me," Dr. Chun said softly, addressing both Elena and Marcus. "I'm Dr. Sarah Chun from City General Hospital. I couldn't help but witness what just happened here, and I want you both to know that what I saw was remarkable." Marcus turned, still holding Elena's hand, his expression wary. He had revealed too much of himself already, exposed the professional identity he had tried so hard to bury. But Elena needed stability now, needed to know that the connection they had forged wouldn't disappear with the sunrise. "Dr. Williams," Dr. Chun continued, reading his name from the business card Officer Thompson still held. "I recognize exceptional therapeutic work when I see it. What you accomplished here this morning represents the highest level of crisis intervention." Elena looked between them, confusion replacing some of the anguish in her eyes. "Dr. Williams?" she asked. Marcus squeezed her hand gently. "That's who I used to be before I decided I wasn't strong enough to keep helping people heal when I couldn't heal myself." A commotion near the basketball court caught Marcus's attention. A group of older boys had surrounded a smaller child, their voices rising in a cruel cadence that Marcus recognized as bullying behavior. He straightened, his hand instinctively moving toward his radio, but stopped when he saw the teachers on duty were already intervening. Still, something about the interaction troubled him. The lead boy, a fifth grader named Tyler Barnes, dispersed quickly when the adults approached, but Marcus caught the look he shot toward the swing set where David played with the twins. It was a calculating expression that suggested unfinished business rather than genuine remorse. Marcus had encountered Tyler before during his brief tenure at the school. The boy was clever enough to avoid direct confrontation when adults were watching, but Marcus had witnessed several incidents where Tyler's behavior crossed the line from typical childhood teasing into something more systematic and cruel. During his military service, Marcus had completed specialized training in threat assessment and behavioral analysis. The skills that had once helped him identify potential insurgents in crowded marketplaces now served to recognize the subtle dynamics of childhood aggression. Tyler exhibited classic patterns of a child who had learned to manipulate situations to his advantage while avoiding consequences. The afternoon pickup routine began as parents started arriving in the circular driveway. Marcus guided David and the twins toward the designated waiting area, but kept Tyler in his peripheral vision. Experience had taught him that predators often struck during transitions when supervision was naturally more scattered. That evening, Marcus prepared dinner while David worked on homework at their small kitchen table. The apartment was modest but clean, decorated with a few military commendations that Marcus kept displayed more for David's benefit than his own. He wanted his son to understand that their current circumstances didn't diminish the value of service or sacrifice. "Dad, why do some kids pick on others?" David asked suddenly, looking up from his math worksheet. Marcus paused in his stirring of the pasta sauce. "What makes you ask that, buddy?" "Well, today Tyler was being mean to some second graders again. And Emma told me he said something nasty to Sophia yesterday when the teachers weren't looking." David's brow furrowed with the kind of concern that made Marcus proud of his son's empathy. "Some people try to make themselves feel bigger by making others feel smaller," Marcus explained, choosing his words carefully. "It usually means they're dealing with something difficult themselves, but that doesn't make their behavior okay." David nodded thoughtfully. "Sophia gets really quiet when Tyler's around. Emma gets mad, but Sophia just kind of disappears." Marcus filed this information away with growing concern. In his experience, children who learned to become invisible often did so because they had identified a genuine threat. Sophia's reaction suggested that Tyler's behavior toward the twins might be more serious than typical playground teasing. He made a mental note to observe the situation more closely tomorrow. His protective instincts, honed through years of military service and single parenthood, were telling him that intervention might soon become necessary. The next afternoon, Marcus positioned himself strategically near the playground equipment, where he could observe multiple areas simultaneously. His military training had ingrained habits of situational awareness that served him well in his current role, even if the other staff sometimes found his vigilance excessive. Mrs. Patterson, the after-school program coordinator, approached with her usual clipboard and harried expression. "Marcus, I need you to help supervise the art room for the next 20 minutes. We're short-staffed today. I prefer to stay out here during pickup time," Marcus replied politely. The playground tends to need more supervision when parents start arriving. Mrs. Patterson sighed with barely concealed irritation. "The children are perfectly safe. Marcus, you're not their bodyguard. Sometimes I think you take this job a bit too seriously." Before Marcus could respond, shouts erupted from behind the portable classrooms. He saw Tyler Barnes and two of his friends cornering Emma Rodriguez near the fence, their body language aggressive and intimidating. Sophia stood several feet away, frozen with obvious distress. "Actually, Mrs. Patterson," Marcus said, already moving toward the confrontation, "I think I'm needed exactly where I am." He crossed the playground with purposeful strides, his training automatically cataloging escape routes, potential weapons, and the positioning of all parties involved. Tyler was pointing at Emma's backpack and demanding something while his friends blocked her path to the main playground area. The isolation was deliberate and calculated. As Marcus approached, he could hear Tyler's voice rising with aggressive confidence. "Give me those cookies your fancy mom packed, or I'll tell everyone about your sister's stupid crying yesterday." Emma's jaw was set with defiance, but Marcus could see her hands trembling slightly as she clutched her backpack straps. "I'm not giving you anything, Tyler. Leave us alone." Tyler stepped closer, using his height advantage to intimidate. His friends flanked Emma on either side, creating a triangle formation that Marcus recognized as a classic containment strategy. These weren't random acts of childhood mischief. The coordination suggested planning and experience. "Your sister's such a baby," Tyler continued, his voice loud enough for Sophia to hear every word. "Always crying and hiding behind teachers. Maybe she needs to learn what happens to crybabies. That's enough, Marcus said, his voice carrying the unmistakable authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed immediately. The boys turned toward him with startled expressions. Tyler quickly arranged his features into an innocent smile, but Marcus had already seen the calculating cruelty in the child's eyes. "We were just talking, Mr. Chun," Tyler said smoothly. "Emma wanted to share her snacks with us." Marcus looked directly at Emma, whose relief was visible despite her attempts to appear brave. "Is that right, Emma?" The girl shook her head firmly. "No, sir. Tyler was trying to take my food and saying mean things about Sophia." Marcus nodded, filing away Tyler's immediate attempt at deception and manipulation. Marcus stepped forward with measured precision, positioning himself so that Tyler's friends naturally moved back while keeping Emma behind him in a protective formation. His movements were deliberate and calm, but carried an unmistakable presence that commanded immediate attention. "Tyler, I need you and your friends to return to the main playground area immediately," Marcus said, his voice steady but firm. "There's no discussion about this." The boy's confident facade began to crack as he encountered someone who wouldn't be manipulated by his usual tactics. "But we weren't doing anything wrong," Tyler protested, though his voice had lost its earlier aggression. Marcus crouched down to Tyler's eye level, a technique he had learned both in military de-escalation training and through his experience as a father. When adults towered over children, fear often replaced understanding. "Tyler, I've been watching this situation develop for several days," Marcus said quietly. "What I saw just now was intimidation and attempted theft. Those behaviors stopped today." The older boy shifted uncomfortably under Marcus's steady gaze. His friends had already begun backing away, recognizing that their leader's authority was being systematically dismantled by someone who clearly understood power dynamics. "You're going to apologize to both Emma and Sophia," Marcus continued. "Then you're going to explain to Mrs. Patterson what happened here. And if I see you targeting these girls again, we'll be having a much longer conversation with the principal." Tyler's face flushed with embarrassment and anger, but he nodded reluctantly. After Tyler and his friends retreated toward the main building, Marcus turned his attention to the twins. Emma stood with renewed confidence, but Sophia remained visibly shaken by the confrontation. Marcus recognized the signs of a child who had been systematically targeted and was struggling to believe the threat had actually been addressed. "Are you both okay?" Marcus asked gently, maintaining the calm presence that had proven effective with Tyler. Emma nodded vigorously. "Thank you, Mr. Chun. Tyler's been bothering us for weeks, but none of the teachers ever see it happen." Sophia finally looked up, her voice barely above a whisper. "He said he was going to hurt Emma if I told anyone what he did to me yesterday." Marcus felt his protective instincts sharpen. "What happened yesterday, Sophia?" The girl glanced nervously toward her sister before speaking. "He pushed me down behind the library and said nobody would believe me if I told because I'm just a weird, quiet kid." Marcus's jaw tightened, but he kept his expression neutral. "That was wrong of him, Sophia. And you're not weird. You're thoughtful and observant, which are good qualities." Mrs. Patterson approached from across the playground, her expression stern. "Marcus, what's this about you interrogating students? Tyler came to me very upset, saying you accused him of things he didn't do." Marcus straightened, recognizing that his intervention was about to be questioned by someone who had already demonstrated a reluctance to take bullying seriously. His military experience had taught him that sometimes doing the right thing meant accepting criticism from superiors who didn't understand the full situation. "Mrs. Patterson, I witnessed Tyler and two other boys cornering Emma Rodriguez and demanding her food while making threatening statements about her sister," Marcus explained calmly. "This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was deliberate intimidation." Mrs. Patterson's expression grew more irritated. "Marcus, you're a security guard, not a counselor. Tyler is a good student from a respected family. I hardly think he's capable of the behavior you're describing." Before Marcus could respond, a sleek black sedan pulled into the pickup lane. Through the windshield, he could see a woman in professional attire checking her phone while waiting. Emma and Sophia immediately brightened and began gathering their belongings. "That's our mom," Emma said, relief evident in her voice. The woman who emerged from the vehicle commanded attention effortlessly. She moved with the confident stride of someone accustomed to boardrooms and high-stakes decisions, her tailored suit and purposeful demeanor marking her as a successful professional. This was clearly Elena Rodriguez, though Marcus had never seen her during his short tenure at the school. Mrs. Patterson straightened and smoothed her hair, obviously recognizing the importance of making a good impression. Mrs. Rodriguez, how wonderful to see you. I hope you're satisfied with our after-school program. Elena Rodriguez approached with a polite smile, but Marcus noticed her eyes immediately scanning her daughters for any signs of distress. Her maternal instincts were clearly as sharp as her business acumen. Girls, how was your day? Elena asked, crouching down to embrace both twins simultaneously. Mom, Tyler was being really mean to us again, Emma said immediately, her words tumbling out with the relief of finally having a safe audience. But Mr. Chin helped us. He made Tyler stop and apologize. Elena's expression shifted instantly from casual interest to sharp maternal concern. Her eyes moved between her daughters and then focused on Marcus with the analytical intensity of someone accustomed to reading situations quickly and accurately. What exactly happened? Elena asked, her voice carrying the authority of someone who expected complete and honest answers. Sophia, emboldened by her mother's presence, spoke up with more confidence than Marcus had heard from her before. Tyler pushed me yesterday and said nobody would believe me. Today he tried to take Emma's food and said mean things about me being a crybaby. Elena's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly, but Marcus caught the change. He recognized the controlled anger of a protective parent who was processing information that threatened her child's safety. Mrs. Patterson stepped forward quickly, clearly uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. Mrs. Rodriguez, I'm sure this is just typical childhood interaction. Boys will be boys, and sometimes children can misinterpret playful behavior. Elena turned toward Mrs. Patterson with a look that Marcus suspected had intimidated corporate executives in high-level negotiations. Threatening my daughters and attempting theft sounds like criminal behavior, not playful interaction. Marcus watched Elena Rodriguez process the situation with the efficiency of someone trained to identify problems and implement solutions. Her protective instincts were clearly as formidable as her professional capabilities. Elena turned her full attention to Marcus, her business instincts recognizing competence when she encountered it. You handled this situation today, Mr. Chun? Yes, ma'am, Marcus replied. I observed the intimidation behavior and intervened using de-escalation techniques to ensure your daughter's safety. Elena's eyes narrowed with interest rather than suspicion. Those are very specific terms. What's your background in crisis management? Marcus hesitated briefly, aware that Mrs. Patterson was listening with obvious skepticism. I served as an Army officer for 8 years, specializing in threat assessment and civilian protection protocols. Mrs. Patterson scoffed audibly. Mrs. Rodriguez, I hardly think military experience qualifies someone to handle delicate childhood situations. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. Elena's expression grew cold as she regarded Mrs. Patterson. Actually, I think someone with professional training in recognizing and neutralizing threats is exactly who I want protecting my children. She turned back to Marcus with renewed focus. What rank did you hold, and what kind of threat assessment training? Captain, Marcus answered. I completed advanced courses in behavioral analysis, de-escalation techniques, and crisis intervention. My unit specialized in protecting civilian populations in hostile environments. Elena nodded slowly, her analytical mind clearly processing this information. Mr. Chun, I'd like to speak with you privately after I get my daughters settled. Would you have a few minutes? Marcus glanced toward David, who was playing nearby with obvious contentment. Of course, Mrs. Rodriguez. Mrs. Patterson's face flushed with irritation as she realized her authority was being systematically bypassed by a parent who clearly outranked her in every meaningful way. After ensuring her daughters were safely in the car, Elena approached Marcus with the focused intensity of someone about to make a business proposal. Mr. Chun, I'm the CEO of Rodriguez Security Consulting. We specialize in threat assessment and safety protocols for educational institutions. Marcus felt his eyebrows rise slightly. He had assumed Elena worked in a demanding field, but hadn't expected this level of alignment with his own expertise. What I witnessed today was textbook crisis intervention, Elena continued. You identified a pattern of escalating behavior, positioned yourself strategically, de-escalated without trauma to the victims, and neutralized the threat permanently. That's exactly the skill set we need for our new school safety initiative. She paused, studying his reaction carefully. I'm offering you a position as Director of Educational Safety Programs. You'd be designing and implementing comprehensive protection protocols for school districts across 3 states. The salary is $90,000 annually, plus benefits and professional development opportunities. Marcus stared at her, barely able to process the magnitude of what was being offered. Mrs. Rodriguez, I appreciate the offer, but I'm just a security guard. Elena smiled for the first time since arriving. Captain Chun, you're a trained professional who's been underutilized in a position that doesn't recognize your capabilities. My daughters are safe today because you saw what others missed and acted with precision and compassion. She handed him a business card. Think about it tonight. Call me tomorrow if you're interested in using your skills to protect children on a much larger scale. If this story touched your heart, please drop a comment and let us know your favorite part or if you've seen hidden talents in veterans or single parents you know.